Proper dissemination of information is welcomed by all, whereas leaks creates unforeseen repercussions. Welcome once again to News Analysis. News Analysis, a weekly magazine on current affairs. To begin with the main points in a nutshell. Decision to raise tuition fees spurs violent protests in Britain. Liu Xiaobo must be freed, Nobel Prize Committee. Croatian ex-Prime Minister Ivo Sanader arrested in Austria. Suicide car bomber rams hospital in Hangu, Pakistan. WikiLeaks, Brazil President Lula backs Julian Assange. WikiLeaks, Pakistan hoaxed by bogus anti-India cables. And now the news in detail. Decision to raise tuition fees spurs violent protest in Britain. Britain's Prime Minister says he wants to bring the full weight of law against protesters who attacked a car carrying the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall amid violent protests in London over a rise in tuition fees. Prime Minister David Cameron said on Friday protesters says police should take lessons from the regrettable incident, but the protesters should take full responsibility for the actions. Metropolitan Police Chief Paul Stephenson said there will be a full and detailed criminal investigation into the thoroughly disgraceful incident which saw protesters set upon the heir to the throne's Rolls-Royce as it drove through London's busy West End Thursday night. A group of 20 protesters, some chanting "off with their heads," smashed a rear window and splashed white paint onto the car. Student fees protests, Cameron condemns royal attack. Lessons need to be learned from a security lapse which allowed protesters to attack the Prince of Wales car, Prime Minister David Cameron has said. Those responsible for the violence at Thursday's student protests must feel the full force of law, he continued. Prince Charles, whose car window was smashed as he and Camilla headed to a theatre, said totally understood the difficulties police faced. MPs pushed through plans raised the maximum tuition fee level to £9,000.
On the streets of London yesterday was completely unacceptable. I mean, of course there is a right to protest peacefully, there always should be, but there is not a right to go on the streets of London wanting to pursue violence and smashing up property, seeing people swinging from flags off the cenotaph and defacing the statue of Churchill. I think people going about their everyday lives in this country will just think that is unacceptable. And it's no good to say this was just a very small minority. It wasn't. There were quite a number of people who clearly were there wanting to pursue violence and to destroy property. I know that the Metropolitan Police Commissioner is going to be working hard to report on this. I also know, quite rightly, he will look into the very regrettable incident where the Prince of Wales and his wife were nearly attacked by this mob. We want to learn the lessons from that. But above all, what we need to make sure is that these people who behaved in these appalling ways feel the full force of the law of the land. It is not acceptable. It is against the law to smash property.
But 21 Lib Dems voted against the proposal, slashing the government's majority. Business Secretary Vince Cable has said the Lib Dems are still united despite the rebellion. Liu Xiaobo must be freed, Nobel Prize Committee. The chairman of the Nobel Prize Committee has called for the immediate release of jailed Chinese dissident Liu Xiaobo, winner of the 2010 Peace Prize. There were 2 standing ovations at the ceremony in Oslo for Mr. Liu, who was represented only by an empty chair. China has been angered by the award and has waged a campaign in recent weeks to discredit it. Nobel Chairman Thorbjørn Jagland praised China for lifting millions of people out of poverty. He called it an extraordinary achievement but warned China that its new status as a leading world power meant Beijing must regard criticism as positive. He said the Nobel Committee was calling for Mr. Liu to be freed immediately, saying he hasn't done anything wrong. Fred Spahr, China's foreign ministry, condemned the ceremony as a political farce. We resolutely oppose any country or any person using the Nobel Peace Prize to interfere with China's internal affairs or infringe upon China's legal sovereignty, said the ministry in a statement. During the award ceremony, Norwegian actress Liv Ullmann read out a statement that Mr. Liu had made in a court during his trial in December 2009. I filled with optimism, look forward to the advent of a future free China. For there is no force that can put an end to the human quest for freedom, and China will in the end become a nation ruled by law, where human rights reign supreme. Honoring the new laureate, Mr. Jagland praised the Nobel diploma on the empty chair, marking Mr. Liu's absence. The Nobel chairman compared China's anger at the award to the outcry over peace prizes awarded to other dissidents of their times, including South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Myanmar pro-democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi. He said Mr. Liu was dedicating his prize to the lots of souls who lost their lives on 4th June, those who died in the pro-democracy protests on that date in Tiananmen Square in 1989. We can say Mr. Liu reminds us of Nelson Mandela, he said. The former South African president received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. The UN says it had information that China detained at least 20 activists ahead of the ceremony.
The Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2010 to Liu Xiaobo for his long and non-violent.
Rather consistent in its message, which is that China needs to have slow, incremental, and peaceful democratic change if it's going to continue to develop and continue to be a contender in the world. Of course, some of his predictions.
Croatian ex-Prime Minister Ivo Sanader arrested in Austria. Former Croatian Prime Minister Ivo Sanader, who is wanted in a connection with corruption investigation, has been arrested in Austria on an international warrant, Croatian police say. Mr. Sanader left Croatia on Thursday shortly before Parliament lifted his immunity from prosecution. He served as Prime Minister from 2003 until 2009. Mr. Sanader says the accusations against him are politically motivated. Austrian officials confirmed the arrest, saying Mr. Sanader was detained on Friday afternoon in western region of Salzburg. The Croatian authorities submitted the arrest warrant to Interpol overnight, hours after Sanader left country for Slovenia. The warrant said he was suspected of conspiring to commit crime and abuses of office. Our police tried to find him and we located him on the highway this afternoon, said Austrian Interior Ministry spokesman Alexander Markovits. He will go to Salzburg Provincial Court and then the authorities will have to decide what will happen to him in the next days or the next weeks, he said. And now, before we close today's bulletin of news analysis, let's have a recap of the main points. Decision to rise tuition fees spurs violent protests in Britain. Liu Xiaobo must be freed, Nobel Prize Committee. Croatian ex-Prime Minister Ivo Sanader arrested in Austria. Suicide car bomber rams hospital in Hangu, Pakistan. WikiLeaks Brazil President Lula backs Julian Assange. WikiLeaks Pakistan hoaxed by bogus anti-India cables. And there we end today's bulletin of news analysis. Be with us in the coming weeks too. Thank you.